Remember I tell you that we have to celebrate our wins when we get them? Well, not quite at the win stage yet for this, but I consider it to be a win for the rule of law. Remember those Venezuelans that were flown to El Salvador's CECOT prison over the objection and in defiance of the court order by federal Judge James Boasberg? One of those detainees that was illegally and unlawfully removed from United States soil is a gentleman by the name of Neiyerver Rengel. He is a Venezuelan, and he was a part of those dozens of people that were sent to El Salvador to be just forcibly put into CECOT and held against his will for more than 4 months. What has he done? Well, he is the first of these Venezuelan detainees that has initiated the process, the legal process, to be able to sue the United States government for the illegal treatment and harm that he sustained because of our federal government. And so I want to walk through what has happened so far so that you understand why, again, I consider this to be a win for the rule of law, because this is how we're supposed to do this. We can't always right all the wrongs, but when there is a pathway that is provided for relief, we should take any and all opportunities to be able to pursue those, because there are judges out there that are showing, like James Boasberg, that they are going to do the right thing. So I am proud, and again, this is in the interest of full disclosure and transparency, I am proud to say that Democracy Defenders Fund, of which I am affiliated, it is Norm Eisen's group that he launched, and I am proud that I am a part of Democracy Defenders Fund. And Democracy Defenders Fund is representing Mr. Rengel in his claim against the Department of Homeland Security. So when you are suing the Department of Homeland Security, as it is a federal agency, you have to sue under a specific federal statute. It's called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And basically, it's a way by which normally you couldn't, right, seek recourse. But in this instance, if somebody who is an employee or an agent of the federal government acting within the scope of their official duties does harm to you, you can sue under the FTCA, the Federal Tort Claims Act. So in this instance, Mr. Rengel is alleging that Department of Homeland Security, Immigration, Customs and Enforcement, and the Department of Justice, as well as the State Department, that they violated his rights, that they caused him emotional and psychological harm because of his unlawful detention, removal, and mistreatment. He seeks $1.3 million in damages for the harm. I think that's undershooting the runway, but I do think it's a reasonable way to be able to present your claim. His claim alleges negligence, malicious prosecution, abusive process, and false arrest. Let's walk through the claim so you understand exactly what is at stake. Under the FTCA, in order to be able to file a formal lawsuit, you have to initiate litigation by way of an administrative claim. And you file a claim for damage, injury, or death with a specific form. And the form must be submitted to the appropriate federal agency to whom you are directing your grievances or your complaints. In this instance, this is going to the Office of the General Counsel for the Department of Homeland Security. And Mr. Rengel attaches a very detailed statement of his claim to his form. Now, what happens is once this claim is made, the federal government has a 6-month window to be able to do the following. The federal government agency can accept the claim for Mr. Rengel and settle it with him. They can deny the claim, at which point in time, Mr. Rengel can then initiate his formal lawsuit. Or Department of Homeland Security, federal government can do nothing. And in doing nothing after the expiration of the 6 months, again, Mr. Rengel can then pursue his litigation. But you should read this attachment because it really lays out, and again, this is just one man's horrific journey, but it really lays out in detail and firsthand. Like, we've been talking so much about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Mr. Rengel, and others, but to hear it from him, to describe what happened to him and the firsthand experience, it's one of the more unique kind of insights that's being provided here. So Mr. Rengel says that he was detained and removed from the United States without cause or due process. Federal officials lied to Rengel, telling him he was being sent to his country of origin, Venezuela. Instead, for 4 months, he languished in El Salvador, which is not his country of origin, and a place where he has no ties, where he suffered physical, verbal, and psychological abuse. Rengel is from Venezuela, and he entered the United States in 2023 at the Paso del Norte port of entry in El Paso, Texas. He appeared for his pre-scheduled CBP-1 appointment. If you recall, that was a program under the Biden administration that allowed people that were entering the United States to schedule an appointment. It was used electronically as an app, as a website or whatever, and they were able to make an appointment to be able to go through the immigration process. At his CB1 appointment, he underwent screenings and provided his biometrics. Rengel was released and scheduled to appear for a hearing on April 4th, 2028, before immigration judge Christopher J. Thielemann. Rengel also applied for temporary protected status in December 2024, which was still being processed for approval at the time of his detention. I want to stop here. I want to underscore how Mr. Rengel's story completely flies in the face of the lies that are being told by the Trump administration to justify their kidnapping, deportation, and removal of people without due cause and in violation of the United States Constitution. Rengel was doing everything that he, quote, was supposed to do. Because we hear this a lot from Republicans, right? Oh, well, they came in here illegally. Well, Mr. Rengel came to the United States, went through the border, went to a port of entry, made an appointment, went to his appointment, had a future court hearing date, and was also applying for temporary protected status. What more was he supposed to be doing? Please, I welcome the Republicans to say what more he was supposed to be doing. Putting aside that now the Trump administration has revoked TPS for Venezuelans and others, so now basically anything that made you, quote, legal in terms of what your status was while you were awaiting to get to a certain point in your citizenship journey, now they've revoked that stuff, right? And so now you can't get asylum or TPS, so now you're deemed illegal, which means that it's easier for them to just basically kidnap and deport you. Rengel was working as a barber in Texas, and in November of 2024, he did plead guilty to a Class C misdemeanor because he was riding as a passenger in a car within which drug paraphernalia was located. So let's take a little trip to law school right now. When drug paraphernalia is found in something like a car and there are multiple occupants, unless one of those occupants affirmatively states that it belongs to that person, there's something that's able to tie custody control of that paraphernalia to that person, then everybody goes for a ride, meaning everybody's going to be charged with possession of drug paraphernalia. It sucks, but that's what the law is. And so in this instance, in November of 2024, Rengel was in a car that had drug paraphernalia. He was released from custody. So think about this. Even in his immigration status back in November of 2024, when he made contact with law enforcement, he wasn't taken into custody, right? He was released from custody under an agreement to pay a $492 fine in monthly installments, each of which he paid on time prior to his detention this past March. He made all the payments on time. So now, again, I'm going to underscore this. You have a man that has come to this country through a port of entry. He was going through the process in the immigration system to be able to stay here in the United States. He is found in a vehicle. He is given the opportunity to go home. He was given the chance to be able to rectify the crime in the situation by paying monthly installments for a fine, which he did without failure. Sound like a violent criminal to you that needs to be removed because the country gets safer? Let's keep going. Rengel has no other criminal record and, by all accounts, was a valuable and upstanding member of his community. But then, on March 13th, 2025, on his 27th birthday, ICE detained him in the parking lot of his apartment. Although he presented documentation to the ICE agents reflecting his port of entry information, his temporary status, and his scheduled appointment in 2028, the agents rejected the documentation, took him into custody. Why? Because the ICE agents lied. They lied and said that his tattoos affiliated him with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, TDA, Tren de Aragua. which, as you guys know, was the basis for Donald Trump doing his executive order under the Alien Enemies Act, right? So TDA, gang, tattoos is being used falsely to be able to justify rounding up people and summarily deporting them. ICE agents asked him to show all of his tattoos. He complied and he lifted his shirt. The agent said his tattoos indicated an affiliation with TDA, the gang. Rengel immediately denied it, said, no, I work as a barber. I have no connection. But regardless, he was taken into custody. And to date, he has never had the chance to be able to refute that claim, that false claim by ICE that he is affiliated with Tren de Aragua. Rengel tried to make a phone call, was denied. Tried to say he needed to meet with a judge, he was denied. Was given a piece of paper, it was in English. He doesn't speak English, doesn't read English. He wasn't translated into Spanish. They made him sign a piece of paper. He was never given the chance to appear in front of a judge. Remember, we talk about due process, notice, reasonable notice, opportunity to be heard. Not happening here. Rengel was lied to several times by the federal government. He was told he was being deported back to his home country of Venezuela. Well, we all know that never happened. In the end, where did he go? He was sent to El Salvador, where he was shoved into that disgusting prison, CECOT. And he was there. And for more than 5 weeks, the United States government failed to provide Rengel's family with consistent information about where he was located. They initially said to his family that he had been removed to his country of origin, which is El Salvador. But when they were like, no, he's Venezuelan, they're like, oh yeah, okay. I guess eventually, yeah, he was moved to El Salvador. Just goes to show that these assholes didn't know, or maybe they did know and they just didn't care. The claim walks through how the United States and Salvadorian officials were bragging about their circumvention of court orders to be able to bring people like Mr. Rengel back to the United States. And while at CECOT, he endured physical, verbal, and psychological abuse. He was beaten in his chest and stomach by the guards. They used fists and batons. He was taken to an area of the prison that didn't have cameras where they beat him viciously. He was forced to witness the guards severely beating other detainees. He was held with 18 or 19 other Venezuelan detainees in a cell that was barely larger than 10 feet by 10 feet. Most of the days, they stayed within that cell for 24 hours, rarely being allowed to exit that cell. He slept on a metal slat with no cushions or pillows. There were 2 toilets in the cell that were completely open. The cell was only cleaned once a week. He suffers from gastritis, for which he was not provided any type of medication. He was never allowed to speak to his family or any attorney while he was at CECOT. Eventually, on July 18th, about a week ago, Rengel was released in that prisoner swap, where he was then sent to Venezuela, and now he is with his mother in Municipio Baruta, Venezuela, and he is absolutely terrified to return to the United States. People, he was here in the United States going through the immigration process, but now he's so scared to return because he doesn't want to have the same shit happen to him again. This is exactly a quintessential example of how the Trump administration has completely bastardized, perverted, and completely weaponized the immigration system, which admittedly was broken before Trump. It was broken. Trump, Biden, Trump. I mean, look, so the immigration system has been broken, but this is not the solution. The things that happened to Mr. Rengel, these are not the solutions that we have to pursue. When asked, the White House's spokesperson said the following. They said that Rengel entered the country illegally in 2023 from Venezuela and is an associate of Tren de Aragua. He was deemed a public safety threat as a confirmed associate of the gang in process for removal. Lies, 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 lies. All lies. Judge Boasberg has also said that based upon the information that's been provided so far, including from that whistleblower, Erez Roveni from the DOJ, or formerly of the DOJ, that is a gentleman that we've covered his whistleblower complaint in great detail here at the Katie Phang News Channel. Judge Boasberg says that he is going to follow up on that whistleblower complaint. And he says, to the extent that they prove to be accurate, those allegations have only strengthened the case for contempt against the Trump administration. Again, a win for the rule of law, meaning, look, of course, Rengel, I don't think it takes a lot to predict. The government's going to deny Rengel's claims. He's going to have to file suit. But you know what? At least there are people like Norm Eisen and Joshua Kolb at Democracy Defenders Fund I'm so proud to be a part of this organization that are willing to take these cases on and willing to take on the Trump administration, because this is what we have to do. We have to use the existing systems and the existing institutions to be able to achieve justice however we can get there. And for somebody like a barber who came to the United States from Venezuela, who was just trying to make a life here and stay here, he didn't deserve this. And there are hundreds of people whose stories are so similar right now, and we need to uplift their story so people understand what they have gone through at the hands of the Trump administration. It has been illegal, unconstitutional. There has been no due process provided that is supposed to be guaranteed under the United States Constitution. If that document means anything to anyone, including Republicans, it needs to have a value and it needs to be respected. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that actions are being taken and that we're not letting people just, roll over and play dead about this, that we are forcing accountability however we have to do this come hell or high water. And that there are judges like James Boasberg and Paula Zenas that continue to push this forward as well in their own defense of the rule of law. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability. Democracy Defenders Fund is doing exactly that on behalf of Mr. Neiyerver Rengel. His name is very complicated, but you know what? Go and learn it and read about his story and show some support, because it would be great. I'll see you on the other side. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.